It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome again to the program. It is County-Wide. Brad Miller with you, and we're very happy to welcome into a studio today. Always a hats off and always very happy to have some of the emergency service personnel in our great communities come and visit with us today, and that's the case on this show. Brent Johnson is a firefighter and paramedic with the Sedona Fire District, and we say hello to you, sir.
Hello to you.
Good to have you here today.
It's good to be here.
I'm really excited. Like I said, it's always terrific. We very often talk with emergency service personnel, and we salute the jobs that each and every one of you guys and gals do. Today, we've done any number of stories with Sedona Fire and some of the other agencies around where we have these dramatic helicopter rescues. Folks get into a jam, a medical condition, or a traumatic injury in, say, Oak Creek Canyon and some of our glorious hiking spots, and the helicopter has to come and provide that rescue and help that person to safety and to health. And Brent's one of the guys that swings at the end of those ropes sometimes under the helicopter, gets down, assesses the patient, and is kind of the point person for the security of that person. Is that a pretty good overview of what you do?
Yeah, that's a
start.
It's a start, yeah.
I want to kind of just talk about that, and basically that's how it starts. You're one of a number of individuals within the Sedona Fire District trained for this kind of activity. Is that right?
That's right. There's 4 of us that do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you got into this service and you wanted to get into emergency response and you found yourself, did you think, because I want to swing under helicopters, or how did that happen?
I didn't even know we did that when I started.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was still focusing on the burning buildings at that point. Yeah. But I always had an interest in technical rescue, which is, of course, hanging off of cliffs with ropes and going into swift water environments to do rescues. That's always been a passion of mine. I've been into the outdoors for my entire life. Sure. So getting into this area where we're doing helicopter rescue, that's something that's unique to Sedona, and I jumped at the opportunity when it was offered to me. Yeah. Is there a way to describe,
I don't know that words can capture it, and for our TV viewers, for our radio viewers, this would be a great one to catch up with on VertiValleyTV.com later on, because Brent sent us some dramatic photos of a number of rescues that have occurred in recent times. And to take a look for the layman, I could never, ever do it, and a lot of people might say the same kind of thing, but you can and do. Is there a way to describe what it's like to be at the end of that? And how long is the rope from the helicopter to where you are?
It's 125 feet.
Okay.
So it's a long rope, and it may surprise you to hear this, Brad, but it is a difficult thing to compare to other sensations you may have experienced in your life. It's very unique, and I did recently actually tell somebody something. It popped into my head, and I thought, geez, this is actually does describe some of the major components of what you're experiencing. I said jokingly, it's kind of like being on a rope swing in a hurricane. Yeah. Because the 2 major things you're experiencing is gravity, pulling major G's, and wind. Because I'm at the end of a 125-foot line, so when a helicopter takes a left turn, I take a big left turn.
You swing wide,
and
just the physics of it.
And you're underneath a rotor that's spinning, and you're getting hammered with rotor wash, and all the wind moving from point A to point B. So it's windy, and you experience a lot of G-force, and that's pretty much what the game is.
and those are the kinds of sensations you're going to immediately get, of course, when you start training and you want to get into this. It seems like when you're on a real call, a no fooling, into the business, and there's becomes a patient. Now does that help to kind of push away any of those concerns you might have, or what have you, and it becomes about patient care and the assignment?
I'll tell you, honestly, it all comes down to the training. Yeah. We train quarterly, and we'll go and do multiple short hauls, multiple rappels out of the helicopter to kind of get used to how to operate in that environment. And after so much training, it becomes regimented. Right. And so when you're up there and you're doing an actual rescue in the environment, you're almost stoic. You don't really think about oh my gosh, I'm on a helicopter. What am I doing? You think, oh, now's the time when I'm going to rebel. I'm going to go down. I'm going to get the patient. I'm going to put him in this. I'm going to take him off to the hell. Yeah. You know, it's very regimented.
Right.
So, you know, there's not a lot of emotion in it. There's not a lot of thought about really what you're doing.
Right.
It's just about getting the job done.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't really have much of an impact.
Yeah, patient care becomes the
patient
driver.
care, and really, when you're flying from point A to point B, you're lucky to get a couple words in over the rotor wash. It's very noisy, very windy.
Right.
But yeah, getting the patient set to fly. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Yeah. You know, you're basically putting them wrapped up in a bag, with a little area where his face can look out.
Yeah.
And or they're sitting in what's basically an overblown hammock that wraps around them in a seating position.
Yeah.
And those are the two major ways we transport people.
Right.
Getting them all set for that, getting them prepared, because although I've done it a bunch of times, they may not have.
I know that patients, depending on the situation, some may be unconscious, some may not be in a state to even communicate. Of those who can, have you ever had anybody say, "No way am I going to do this. I'll figure a way to walk me out"? Is that right?
No.
That right?
And I think it comes down to the emergency at hand.
Sure.
I mean, if I'm coming with the helicopter,
they need you.
You need it.
Right.
And there's not a lot of people going, hey,
yeah,
I'll take the next one.
Yeah, get me out of here. Yeah,
they want to go.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Excuse me. Speaking of patient condition, I know that sometimes you've been to horrific incidences there. There's medical, I think, folks who have, you've had heart attacks up on the trails, you have different things like that, medical, and then there's been traumatic injury, and I know sometimes with head trauma, the patient can be combative or convulsive and things like that. That's got to really add an element to how your rescues are done.
You know, luckily, I've never had a patient in that condition for a short haul.
Is that right?
But well, of course, we have outside of the short haul realm. We have drugs that can help with that.
Okay.
To calm people down. There's always a way to get around certain obstacles.
Yeah.
Lucky for us, nobody's ever decided to freak out in the middle of a short haul.
Yeah.
But that goes into mentally preparing your patient, letting them understand exactly what's going to happen,
right? So
they can anticipate the environment we're taking them into, because it is unique, and it is, well, it's unique.
Yeah, it's hard to even say.
Hard to describe.
What are the circumstances that need to occur or that have occurred for the helicopter to come? We'll hear about. Let's say let's omit weather. Let's say weather conditions are perfect for whichever way. Just to help us along. Is it geography, condition of patient, all of those things? How do you decide when you fly, and how do you decide when you go in on the ground instead?
How long is this interview?
I know we've only got. In fact, and Brent, that's a great point. Let's do this. I'll let you think about that for a second. We'll take our first break, and this one's going to fly by. Bad pun. Bad. Brent Johnson, the man in the air, one of those men in the air with Sedona Fire, and we'll take a short break. Come back to Countywide right after this.
Thanks for calling the GED Pep Talk Center. Jerry Stiller speaking. Your level 7 in-your-face pep talk.
I can keep pushing. Believe me, I'm good at it. But at some point, you're going to need to start pushing yourself.
See, once you've got your GED diploma, you'll feel so good about yourself.
You tell them. You can't change the past, but you can definitely change the future.
That makes me so happy, I'm ready to bust out a dance.
Mr. Trejo, can I transfer this guy to you? My gentle technique isn't really working. You need something a little more...
persuasive?
Yes.
You listen, and you listen good.
Hey, where's my sandwich? Terry? Terry!
Take it from me, the King DMC. It's a real cool thing to get your GED.
Get that diploma!
Now hold on and we'll find you free GED classes. Capiche?
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, but I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
Welcome back to the program. Brent Johnson is our guest today from Sedona Fire District. Brent is a firefighter and paramedic, and today focusing on his involvement with the, what do we call the short and long haul rescues? Is that what we call this?
It's called a short haul rescue.
Short haul.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes it's a long haul. Is the rope? Is that where we get the short and the long of it?
No. The reason it's called a short haul is you're really going from point A to point B as quickly and in under a short distance as possible.
Distance. Gotcha. Got nothing to do with
because
the rope.
you know, when you're hanging underneath there, you don't want to. You don't want to go pick up somebody's dry cleaning and do some errands while you're up. You want to go right to where you're going, and that's it.
Exactly. Shortest distance is a straight line.
Yeah.
The question that we kind of pitched before we took our short break there was, we're going to assume about, say, good weather. What all goes into the decision of whether the helicopter does this rescue? Say it's a broken leg, so it's not a super time-pressing thing. Yeah. What factors into that decision?
Well, first of all, it'd be the access to the patient. I mean, this is
right
in the big scope of things. This is a risk assessment you're going to make, because it is the riskiest thing we do.
Yeah.
When you're doing a short haul, you want to limit it to only the situations that really need it. And if you can make access to a patient, there's a chance then you can hike them out, which is low risk.
Right.
Being up on the side of a cliff, being in rushing rivers.
Yeah.
These are situations where you may have limited options or options that take longer to do. Setting up a rope system, for example, takes a lot of time. It's not a fast procedure. The patient may be just stuck up there.
Right.
Not a rush.
Not hurt at all.
We can do a rope system, and then we can hike them out. It's the safest, slowest way to do things. But if you're injured, and it's a critical injury, or even you're having a heart attack or a stroke, something while you're out hiking that starts happening to you, time is of the essence. And even if they're on a trail, we may short haul in those instances because it's the fastest way to get somebody to the hospital.
Okay. And those criteria apply whether it's a helicopter rescue or anything. If it's in the middle of town, time is really the ball game with EMT and paramedic work, isn't it?
When you look at the fire service, everything has a clicking clock, just ticking along, and you're always thinking, well, you know, when am I going to be able to get to this patient to the hospital?
Right.
How fast can I get to the scene? How fast can I get him in the back of my ambulance? How fast can I get him to a doctor? Because take heart attacks, for example. Tissue is time.
Right.
Everybody's heard that. We are that little stopgap from the time the patient started having the medical problem to the time they get fixed.
Right.
Go to the cath lab, whatever it is. So we're all about speed. And it's no different in the realm of technical rescue. We have to do things fast, but in the nature of what we do, sometimes it's not fast.
Right.
Setting up a rope system or going into a swift water rope system, those are slow maneuvers.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I want to explore that a tiny bit because we're kind of focused on the helicopter, and that's maybe the most dramatic thing. It's very visible from a long distance away, and so it kind of gets some attention. But it seems like just from covering news, as Paul David and I do, that a lot of times these rescues, whether there's helicopter or the rope system you described, it sometimes becomes a combination of these mechanisms and ways to do that. Is that right?
Absolutely.
When you get a group, we had some hikers, Boy Scouts and whatnot, and I think this was up Coconino County, but when you get, say, a group, and we'll hear about that, and maybe there's flooding conditions as they had, and one of the injuries, now you've got a whole different kind of ball game, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes because of the uniqueness of the environment, short haul isn't an option right away. Sometimes we'll have to move a patient to a different area where we can reach them with a short haul. So maybe we build a rope system, raise a patient out of a canyon, for example, and now they're at the ledge of a canyon, and I can fly in and grab them and go. So sometimes we do combine those efforts and ended up doing not just a quick grab with the helicopter.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. There's all kinds of scenarios that can go into.
Every single case is going to be different, and we can't paint and illustrate every single one. Our example a moment ago was kind of assuming good weather and that. And you touched a little bit on, and I know flooding becomes a real issue. Folks get down in low spots. We get our flash flooding during monsoon time and things like that. And here again, with the helicopter, wind, inclement weather, and those start to play in a bit more as to whether you can even fly, and the assessment of those time issues you talked about become, I don't want to say secondary, but get pushed back, don't they? Because crew safety's got to be every bit as critical as anything else.
You definitely have parameters that you can operate in when it comes to weather, even night. We won't do short hauls at night. There's just too many radical factors that impact it. So, but we will use the DPS Ranger for other things than doing short hauls, like lighting at night. So we will actually call them. We will call them to help locate patients, even early on into a technical rescue. We may end up short hauling, and it may be as simple as them landing and, oh, this guy's lost and dehydrated, get in the helicopter and here we go. And they take care of the assignment. So they're really great utility to us. As far as weather, you know, it is a constant battle. Yeah. And it's as much as it is a factor in creating rescues, it is a hindrance to our rescue. We can only fly during certain conditions. Right. And like I said, night, we don't do them. And some of you brought up swift water. Something we're doing that's new now is we can use a cinch collar and actually go out and grab patients off of, say, the hood of their car. They're stuck out in the middle of a rushing river. That's new as of this year. Yeah. We started doing that discipline. So it's constantly expanding upon what we can do, and you know, man, the applications are endless.
Yeah,
really.
Well, I know that just through the training, and so it makes sense that the technology and the mechanisms for rescue are gonna continue to move along as well. Yeah. You mentioned nighttime and that you don't fly at night. I know sometimes rescues will begin maybe at 2 in the afternoon, and because of different circumstances, you're going to lose the light. Sure. And I don't know if it was yourself, perhaps one of your Sedona counterparts, who have actually gotten in and then been forced to spend the night with a patient because removing them was not safe or those kinds of things. Did you do that? Or there was a recent case, I think. Can you talk? I don't know if you can talk about specific cases or how it works. But
we can be general about them. So yeah, there was 2 cases in the last couple years where we've gotten to the patient, and it was such an ordeal that we had to basically stay overnight with the patient. Right. There's just no other option. And once the sun goes down, and especially in some of our canyons, there's no light, there's nothing. You're really risking further injury by moving patients in the night to the patients themselves. Some of them, in one case, were ambulatory, and they just were in no situation to start hiking in the middle of the night.
You had to wait till the next day.
You just had to spike out, wait till sunlight, and then move out from there.
Now, given that, when you get in and you're the only other person there with that patient, say, are you equipped for an overnight? I suppose when the circumstance merits, you get that equipment, and that becomes part of what you...
Well, you know, necessity is the mother of invention.
Book of matches?
So you know, we are now equipped to spike out at night. Okay. We bring food and water and shelter with us. Sure. It's something that is rare, but when it happens, you need to be prepared. Yeah. Because you can yourself be suffering from exposure very easily in this environment.
And that's kind of where I was going, that now you stand to perhaps have 2, maybe not patients, but 2 individuals that are going to become, that everybody else is going to be very concerned about all the way through the night.
If you're lucky, only 2. So some of these scenarios have been multiple patients.
More than that. All right. We have to take another break. I hate to pause, but we do need to do that. We'll come back more with Brent Johnson on Countywide right after this.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
One of the areas still maturing in an adolescent brain is the prefrontal cortex. So when we take drugs, we alter key motivational circuits, changing the wiring needed for the cognitive function of the brain. Until we can't totally deal with things like memory, thinking things out, and even learning stuff.
The signs are there. So is our help. Visit the partnership at drugfree.org for practical advice on coping with teen drug use.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the program. Brad Miller with you and Brent Johnson today. Sedona Fire District. SedonaFire.org is the website. Terrific website, by the way.
Thank you.
Great information, just hints and tips about safe hiking and home safety and a million different kinds of things. So terrific place to look for many resources. Brent, of course, a firefighter and paramedic. One thing I want to ask, you talked about packaging the patient and getting them ready, and they're kind of cocooned in there for safety and all of those kinds of things. But typically, you or whomever, the paramedic, is going to go on the rope. So now there's two of you. The patient, often in the Stokes basket or seated, as you described, but you're going with them.
Yeah, there's only
two of you.
There's only one instance I've ever seen them not have an attendant, which would be me.
Yeah.
With the patient, and that's because of the inability for lift because of weather conditions, time of year.
Gotcha.
But that is a rarity. Usually, we're there to make sure that the patient is attended to, and someone's there to keep them calm, everything you'd expect. So that is typically what we do. What they have is at the end of the rope is basically a ball of rings.
Right.
And you clip into that with your harness,
okay,
and you hang from that. And the other person, what's called a Bauman bag, it looks like a sleeping bag kind of with your face poking out.
Okay.
That clips in with a series of straps, and you hang from that, and you fly away. And it's perfectly safe.
It's a young man describing the extraordinary as if it were very ordinary indeed. And as our time runs out, Brent, I got to tell you again, always we salute you folks, you guys and gals in these services, police, fire, and all of our emergency response personnel. They are a dedicated bunch, and we are thankful for them. Our guest today, Brent Johnson, fireman, paramedic, Sedona Fire. SedonaFire.org is the website. We thank you for joining us, too, and we'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.